Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to some more World of Tanks goodness. And in this video, we've got two Tier 9 games for you, and we're featuring some forumites in each case, kicking off proceedings with... My name is Puffs. We've seen him before. He is platooned up with Tank Schmidt, both of whom are frequenters of the EU forums. Tank Schmidt is in his T-55A, and Puffs is here in his IS-3-2. I always find it weird to see the marks of excellence on these double-barreled tanks, because they get them on both barrels, which I can't help but feel looks just a little bit silly. I mean, just think about it for a moment. Who's going to get in and paint the star on the inside of the barrels? I just want you to think about that. Anyway, so we are in the IS-3-2. What's special about this, in case you hadn't noticed? Well, it gets two barrels. It's the Tier 9 Soviet double-barreled tank. I've shown a video, I believe, with the Tier 8 before. This is the Tier 9. It's still an IS-3 hull, and the IS-3 hull isn't the best armoured thing in the world. Ooh, trying to pick out a shot here. Not really sure if it's going to work. And so I had a variety of replays I could have shown for this video. And I've picked one replay where you get a stupid number of kills, and one replay where you get a stupid amount of experience. And I'll let you work out which is which when we get to the end plates. So Puffs here is actually reloading HE here in order to try and engage the enemy IS-3-2. Just by the way, can we all just have a moment to ponder what a weird position the IS-3-2 is in? And yes, Puffs did just do a double-barreled shot with 2 HE rounds. But that IS-3-2 is in a really weird position. You don't tend to find heavy tanks sitting hull down behind that rock. The reason you don't tend to find it is because, well, artillery is generally a thing, and they normally start salivating at the prospect of a heavy tank sitting in the middle of a field, even if they are behind a rock. And it's odd, shall we say, perhaps that the GW Tiger P didn't just get very excited in the IS-3-2's general direction. But hey ho, it is what it is. So Puffs here is trying to find shots. Now, he has actually come up to the mid-ridge here on Fisherman's Bay, which is a bit of an unusual position to find a heavy tank in. But to be fair, and I haven't played the IS-3-2, but it looks like he gets a little bit of gun depression, kind of maybe ST1 levels of gun depression at a guess. ST1, STI, call it what you will. And he has actually come up to the mid here, and so far, I mean, he's done 125 damage with a couple of HE rounds. He's got 491 assistance, but we're not exactly looking at a spectacular game thus far. Trust me, things do ramp up a little bit. Takes a shot there at the Object 257, but the sides of the Object 257 are basically made of black holes. It's got some of the most ridiculous cases of Stalinium side armour that I think I have ever seen. Go figure. It's also notable, by the way, that we've got 5 friendly tanks, discounting the Panther 2 at the back, in the vicinity of the town here on Fisherman's Bay. And they don't really appear to be doing much. And if anything, I'd have actually expected the Conqueror to maybe be along this ridgeline and Puffs to be down there, but it is what it is. So, the friendly Patriot died, the friendly Batchat 12T died, so there goes platoon number 1. And we're just waiting for something to happen, and we've all been in games like this, let's be honest. You know, where things just get off to a slow start and nothing really much appears to be going on. And I could fast forward this bit, but I don't like doing that, because I think it gives people a kind of false impression of how games tend to go for people. Oh, that was both barrels. Bye. Wait, was that both barrels? No, that was one barrel. I'm being stupid. He finished it off with the second barrel. Now, one thing I do want to note about these double-barreled tanks is certainly when they came out, and I think even now, people make a lot of fuss about the fact that, oh, they can do like 800 damage if they fire both barrels at once. And I haven't played these things yet, but having looked at them, I think that's a little bit of a fool's trap. Because yes, whilst you can unload both barrels at once, firstly it doesn't do wonders for your DPM, but also because the two barrels are in slightly different positions, I think, or I wonder if more often than not, or at least a significant amount of the time, if you go for those double-barreled shots, it ends up just not being worth it, and probably the more efficient way and the more flexible way to play these tanks is to treat them as a little two-shot double-tap autoloader. I say double-tap as if there's a quick intricate reload. It's something like 5 seconds. Oh, that was not a particularly well-aimed shot there. And so, when Puff sent this replay in, he actually sent in 2 replays from the IS-32, and I've chosen to show this one instead of the other one, partly because I didn't just want to show, you know, 800 damage double shots all over the shop. By the way, for anyone who's interested, the IS-32, so it's the hull of the IS-3, it's got this sort of ST-1 style turret. 122mm gun, it's 390 alpha, 243 pen, so if you get both shots off, you're looking at, what, 780 damage from the 2 barrels maximum, which it's kind of in line with a lot of autoloaders at the tier, and oh, there we go, 655. And in that sort of situation, firing both barrels makes sense. The guy was broadside on. The guy would have struggled to retreat fully in time, and it just allows you to finish your tank off nice and quick. You don't really care about your DPM, it limits your exposure, blah blah blah. So I think that was a really intelligent use of the double-barreled mechanic, but you can see Puffs isn't going for it all the time. Most of the time he's just going for single shots, which I think is the more sensible way to play it. And I'm sure there'll be people out there going, oh, well, it might be sensible, but it's boring. Yeah, well, deal with it. My channel, my rules, I'll show the replays I want, right? And there, you can see, oh, that was unlucky, only a critical hit on the T-44. But if he'd fired both barrels at the T-92, there's a reasonable chance not both of those shots would have penetrated. And as it was, he had the opportunity to put a shot into another tank anyway, which he wouldn't have had if he'd just unleashed both barrels. So, anyway, that's just my speculation. I haven't, again, I'll reiterate, I haven't played any of these tanks yet, myself. I'm currently playing through the KV-3 again. Oh, another critical hit, that's a bit unlucky. And part of the reason I'm doing that is to unlock... There we go, nice blind kill there. Unlock the IS-22, the tier 8 here, which obviously will then lead into the IS-32 and takes the patterns tracks out. I mean, let's be honest, at the end of the day, this is still a Soviet heavy tank. Taking shots at more than sort of 100 meters, well, that's not what this is for. Just as Puffs puts a shot into the side of the turret of that enemy IS-32 at a range of 400 meters. Let's just ignore that, right? And a shot there into the side of the T-95. So, in case anyone hadn't noticed, Puffs is currently up to about 2,000 damage. And he's got 5 kills for himself, 6 kills for himself, and got some assistance as well. He's actually made a really good showing of this position. Scoreline is pretty much even at 9 kills apiece. And if we have a quick look at both teams, unfortunately Tank Schmidt went down a short while ago. And we can see that both teams, well, I'll just say both teams, that's not quite true. The friendly team have all of their, not all of their tier 9s, this is not 357 matchmaking, this is a bit of a dicey situation, have more of their tier 9s remaining than the enemy team, which should give them a slight edge, one would think. Anyway, Puffs unfortunately takes some damage there. He's able to put a shot into the side of that T-54, and the second barrel's ready to go, and he finishes that guy off. Nicely done there. Good use of the kind of two-shot autoloader thing that you've got going on with this. Technically, it's a two-shot auto reloader with the option to fire both barrels at once. But anyway, takes out that T-54, puts him up to 7 kills, by the way, in case anyone hadn't noticed. And the scorelines are 10-10. This is a really, really close game. IS-22 spotted out away in the distance. Puffs is going for the double shot there, and both shots land for 798 damage. Again, I think another good example of where the guy was broadside on, he didn't look like he was moving too much. I think it made sense there to use the double-barreled, like fire both shots at once. So, good shot selection in my humble opinion there. Goes for a slight leading shot on the Soviet tank there, but the guy just stops dead. Didn't see that coming, which is entirely understandable. Jagdtiger's getting worked over a bit. Gonna have to give this guy a little bit of lead, although apparently he just sits there and becomes kill number 8. Ooh, this is getting interesting on the kill front. Can he? No! There goes the M46 pattern. Jagdtiger picks him up, and that just leaves the artillery and T92. Can Puffs pick up these last two enemies? That would be 10 kills and a Paul's medal. He's already on a Radley Walters, which is nice anyway, but that would be really good to pick up the Paul's medal. I have still, in something like 38,000 battles in this game, I have still never had a Paul's medal. I've had a 10 kill game, but it was at tier 3, so it doesn't count. So, Puffs really wants them to stop the cap. Apparently someone has a mission. It's just one of those things, like what you're going to do. Kind of frustrating here, but if someone has a capping mission, you can't necessarily blame them too much for trying to complete it. So Puffs is trying to pick out a shot there on the T92, manages to put one of his shots in, leaving the guy on 115 odd health. There goes the second shot, which takes him out. Unfortunately, however, there we go. They cap this one out. Which is kind of frustrating, because it means that Puffs was denied his Paul's medal, I suppose, or denied the possibility of a Paul's medal on Active Monkey Pro, which is a great name, by the way, for the enemy artillery, because the other IS-32 wanted to cap out for a mission, which is a little bit galling, but it is what it is. Anyway, what ended up being a bit of a high kill game. Let's go with a high kill game there. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. So that was enough for Ace Tanker, Spotter, Bruiser, Fire for Effect, Top Gun, and Radley Walters medal. Not quite a Paul's medal there. If a couple of shots had perhaps gone Puff's way, that could have been a Paul's medal. If the other IS-32 hadn't decided he needed to cap that one out, that could have been a Paul's medal. But never mind, it was still a really good game. 4,139 damage is a lot less damage than you'd usually expect from a 9-kill game at, well, tier 9, but it is what it is. And I hope the IS-32 completed his mission. Shout out should also probably go to Tank Schmidt. Although he died earlier on in that game, he still racked up 4,000 damage. No kills, but 4,000 damage is 4,000 damage. It's still good going. And the friendly Jagdtiger, 4,500 damage from him. A little bit of spotting as well. Really nice result. Commiserations to the enemy T95 in particular. 3,000 damage from him. And actually, well, the enemy T92, almost 4,000 assistance from him. The Stritzfang S1, 2,500, remember he wasn't top tier. The artillery had a good game as well. So there were a few players on the enemy team who did well, and that game really remained close throughout. Surprised a little bit that the Lorraine didn't do more. He only fired 2 shots all game, but it is what it is. 28 shots fired, 26 hits, 16 pens for that damage count. Most of which was from relatively close range, but about 1,800 from more than 300 meters, which is unusual in a Soviet heavy tank. 6 hits received, 1 penned, 5 did not, for 1,330 damage blocked by his armour, 12 of the enemy team damage, 9 killed, 1,471 assistance damage, and still a 68,000 credit profit, as well as a metric boatload of experience. So a really nice game there for Puffs in his IS-32. Let's move on to our next replay. So, second game then, and we are joining Azakal in his Tier 8 French Premium Medium Tank, the Brasque. But it doesn't matter what classification Wargaming give it, we all know that the Bolesque here is the best Tier 8 light tank in the game, right? Anyway, Azakal, for anyone who doesn't know, he's another Forumite, but he's got a lot of battles under his belt, and I do mean a lot. But he's a bit of a light tank specialist. This guy has more matches in light tanks than I have total battles on my account. He's also quite good, shall we say, at taking tanks that aren't light tanks and playing them as if they were light tanks, and still doing well. Go figure. So, I wanted to show a Barask game, partly because this thing relatively recently was on sale, certainly on the EU servers. So a bunch more people have picked this thing up. It's a really rather good machine. Now, this particular game is, well, you'll see. You'll see. It's a bit of a carry, put it that way. I have absolutely no idea what Azakal is doing there. I'm not gonna lie. Not entirely sure. The mind of a light tank driver. And now he's reloading his mag back to APCR. I wonder if he was testing out some different ammunition. Not sure. Anyway, we're here, in case you hadn't noticed, by the way, on Prokhorovka. This is a really, really nice light tank map. And it looks like this EBR Hotchkiss is possibly going to find out, yeah, that just because you're in a wheelie doesn't necessarily mean you can do what you like. And with that guy dead, that's going to free things up a fair amount for someone else to do some spotting. Now, this is not going to be a game where Azakal just sits in a bush and spots things. That's not how this game is going to go. But just bear with it. You know, it's early stages yet. What's interesting about the Barask is that this thing gets a very nasty gun for such a mobile tank. This thing has a little two-shot autoloader, 105mm gun with 360 average damage. So that's 720 magazine damage, clip damage. And it will do that within, I believe the intra-clip reload is something like 2 seconds. So it will do that in 2 seconds. This thing is better at light tanking and better at doing damage than most light tanks. The other thing that's nice about this is, whilst Azakal does carry a couple, he's got 6 rounds there of premium APCR ammo, it's not as if he's spamming it everywhere. Anyway, onto the game in question. The scoreline's 2-5, which is not particularly great. We've got an EBR 75 out in the mid, and oh, that ELC even 90 has made mistakes. Oh dear, if he can get this guy out, that would be really valuable. That is the last light tank on the enemy team. That guy is probably the tank that poses the single biggest threat to Azakal in this game, if we're being honest. Now, I highlighted the EBR because I know how this game goes, and it's worth keeping an eye on him. He and Azakal are kind of going to carry this game in their own way. So, one shot there into the even 90. Can he get the second one in? No, alas not. Now, you'll notice here that Azakal is taking quite a lot of shots that you might be surprised that he's taking. They might seem a little bit risky. A couple of things to note here then about what he's doing. Firstly, he's doing it on the reverse side of this ridge. What that means is that if he does get spotted, he can just pull back behind the ridge and he should be safe from most enemy fire. The other thing is that the Barask has a very, very good camo rating for a medium tank. This is very much light tank camo territory. And what that means is that you can, if you're careful, you can get away with taking some shots on the enemy team that perhaps you wouldn't in most light tanks. Or, sorry, in most medium tanks, I meant. Now, if you're paying attention to the scoreline is 2-8. Yeah. The hill over on the 0 line has been lost. The mid-ridge, well, if I say the mid-ridge is lost, that kind of indicates that the mid-ridge was ever contested by the friendly team, and it kind of wasn't. You'll notice, by the way, that the EBR, the friendly EBR, has moved up to do a load of spotting. Azakal's already picked up 2,000 spotting and 2,500 damage, by the way, but the friendly EBR has moved up to do some spotting, and so Azakal, rather than trying to spot all these guys himself, has taken the opportunity to do some shooting, which makes sense, and highlights that whether you're in light tanks or whatever your tank class is, even if primarily, oh, those 2 shots were unlucky, even if primarily you want to focus, or you think at the time you should be focusing on spotting people, that doesn't mean you shouldn't, given the right situation, be looking to do damage yourself. Now, I'm selling this tank to be very good because it is, but it's not without its downsides. You might have noticed the gun handling isn't amazing. And, oh, can you pick up the CS? No. The other thing to note is that with regular ammo, you've got 190 pen, which is fine for a tier 8 medium tank, but it's not exactly amazing. EBR, by the way, has scooted back. He has managed to get himself into a position where he's spotting the E75 and the CS59. For the friendly team to shoot. And there goes the Udez. And reloading the magazine again. Down to 10 rounds of regular APCR, by the way. And I know I said this wasn't going to be one of those games where someone just sits in a bush spotting all game. And I stand by that. The guy's doing some shooting too. But this, certainly at this stage, this game is kind of passive. But with the EBR, the friendly EBR, Azakal doesn't have to put himself in harm's way too much to be effective at the moment. The EBR is doing the spotting, that's fine. Azakal is doing some shooting, along with his other teammates. CS44 over in the distance. Oh, IKV pulls the trigger just a fraction sooner. But either way, the guy is dead, going for the reload again, and this time Azakal, in fact actually as he had done before, is loading some gold ammo. What's the pen here? Pen goes up to 240, which is still not stellar. There are plenty of tier 8 medium tanks that pack a lot more penetration than that with their gold rounds. In fact, there are tier 8 medium tanks that are packing almost that much penetration with their regular rounds. So, now the P43, Azakal cannot spot, which is a little bit frustrating. The EBR went round to tangle with the E75. The E75 is, for a lot of people in this game now, a one-shot, and the scoreline is 8-11. In case you hadn't noticed, by the way, Azakal is up to 4,000 damage and 2,500 assistance. The enemy team are kind of making a bit of a mess of this. They were winning, just in case you'd forgotten, they were winning by something like 2-8 or something like that. They were winning by a very considerable margin, and things just seem to have gone a little bit wrong. So we've got the IKV and the ISU. Sorry, not even an ISU, an SU-152. Now, I can't help but think that the enemy team need to kind of work out what it is they want to do here. Because they've kind of advanced in a very piecemeal fashion and it's all going wrong. Now, right at the beginning I did say Azakal wasn't just going to sit in a bush all game, and I stand by that statement. He is actually doing some moving, but it's very much, oh, gun handling, it's very much a considered advance. He hasn't been running around the map like an utter nutter. And while I've made lots of comparisons here between the Borask and light tanks, one thing you do have to bear in mind here is that because it is technically not a light tank, it does not retain its camo on the move. Its camo will take a hit when moving. Bear that in mind. So, ISU-152K, very dangerous machine. Can Azakal get himself into a position where he can get some shots? Oh, you see, the enemy team have decided now is the time to advance, now that the E75 is dead. Which is just a curious decision if you ask me. Another curious decision, and I'm wondering if Azakal's just not noticed, is that Azakal here is actually loading one of his gold rounds, his last gold round. Now, I'm assuming because he wants to deal with the Object 257, and that will give him a better chance of doing it. But of course, because he's so low on ammunition, and the round actually bounces, he spent a long time loading one shell instead of a full mag. But anyway, the Object 257 goes down, and that just leaves the ISU-152K and the Rheinmetall Borsig. Now, unfortunately, the EBR does eventually go down. The ISU gets him, although Azakal is able to avenge him. But with the death of that light tank, Azakal's really the one who needs to go and do some murderizing. And he's moving forwards. Rheinmetall Borsig, P-43, and a couple of artillery to deal with. Apparently, by the way, the friendly EBR was running at 20 FPS. So not particularly good FPS for even a slow-paced shooter like World of Tanks, and he still managed, well, you'll see the post-battle results, but he still managed to have a really nice impact on this game. Azakal moving forward here. His friendly tank destroyers are a little bit slow on the mark, if we're being honest, and he's going to go hunting. He's managed to conserve his hit points such that he's on full health at this point, which is where you really want to be in an autoloader, because then you can trade that health efficiently. And oh, hello Borsig, how are you today? Bye. Can we put a shot into the 212 as well? Yes! Excellent, nicely done. Only got 7 rounds of ammunition remaining, however, which is a little bit dicey, and there's an artillery round. So, Azakal moving up to do some more spotting. There's the 2 artillery, and I must admit, I think at this point I'd have been tempted to load a HE mag myself rather than another AP mag just to deal with the artillery, because now Azakal is in a slightly awkward position. If he wants to... Oh, so I was worried in case the P-43 was on full health, but he's really not. He's a... Well, he could be a one-shot, but realistically he's probably more of a 2-shot. So Azakal's just moved around to try and get a shot here. This is a bit risky. It could go horrendously wrong, but he's actually rewarded with a blind kill there. And I think this is a little bit of a mistake. He's loading his last AP round into the magazine. Why do I think this is a mistake? Because he only has a single AP round left. His magazine has 1 shot, and then he has a painful reload. And the M12, whilst Azakal should be able to kill him with 1 shot, he might not be able to, and now Azakal's loading the HE mag. So I would say that Azakal is a very good player, please do not misunderstand, but I would say perhaps slightly better management of his ammunition throughout the course of this game would have been a good idea. As it is, of course, the HE round doesn't penetrate, but it doesn't matter, he's able to pick up the kill anyway, and that is the match. C'est fini. And one of the reasons I wanted to show this game was, well, you'll see the experience, the base experience in a moment. But that was one of the driving reasons behind showing this one. But also, this was, whilst I wouldn't call this a campy game, and I've said that a couple of times, it was a considered game. It's not as if Azakal was running around like a blue-ass fly, spotting everything all the time. And actually, he shared a lot of the burden of carrying that game with the friendly EBR. Anyway, let's have a look at the post-game stats for this one. Have a guess as to how much at base experience you think Azakal has got. Just from the numbers you can see, which by the way are 7 kills, 6,000 damage, and 3,500 assistance. How much base XP? Place your guesses now. So that was enough for Ace Tanker, Spotter, Bruiser, Fire for Effect, Top Gun, High Caliber, and I love the fact that Azakal doesn't bother writing any description about this game, and just calls it a recent mastery badge on Barask. That's it. No big fancy words or anything like that. It just says exactly what it is. Kind of undersells it, but hey, we're seeing it now. So, base experience, how much do you think he got? If you guessed your answer was 2,038, congratulations, you're the winner. Yeah, that's base experience. No premium account, no ×2 for any wins, not including missions or anything like that. Base experience. 2,038. My highest, off the top of my head, base experience, I believe, is somewhere in the 1,700 range after almost 40,000 battles, and I'm no slouch. 2,038. Damn. Also, shout out should go to Victor 1001 in his Panhard EBR there. It's interesting when you see a game where someone does or gets over 2,000 base experience and someone else gets over 1,000 base experience. Like, he got 1,378. By he, I mean the Panhard here. He got 1,378 base XP and wasn't top of his team. That is a pretty hard carry by the pair of them. 2,066 damage, 3 kills, and 5,000 basically spotting from the Panhard EBR there. So, I mean, we'll have a look at the exact breakdown of Azakal's results in a moment, but yeah, it's quite a lot. Shoutouts, I would just also like to highlight a couple of things. One, IKV90, tier 7 tank destroyer in a tier 9 match. He's bottom tier, he still manages 2,500 damage, 2 kills. Really nice result from him. And on the enemy team, commiserations to that E75, 4,500 damage from him, plus I'm assuming some assistance, 1,600 assistance. I'm sorry that you advanced and your team essentially just left you to die. What you gonna do? Sorry, mate. Anyway, 35 shots fired, 29 hits, 19 pens, for 6,293 damage, 5,000 of which was from longer range. It's not often that you do over 6,000 damage and 3,500 spotting, and someone else on your team has to do 5,000 spotting and get 2,000 damage themselves. Like, jeez Louise. Anyway, no hits received from Azakal that entire game. He did the entire thing without even being hit. Not without being damaged, without even being hit. I mean, it's using camo, right? 5 enemy vehicles spotted, 11 damaged, 7 destroyed, 3,425 assistance. He got a couple of defense and capture points in there as well. 4 kilometers travelled. A profit. Remember, this is a tier 8 premium tank, so it's going to make a lot of credits. A profit after you take away ammunition resupply costs, and remember, there were no repair costs, a flat profit of 324,000 credits. Profit. That's bonkers. Now, that's including personal reserves. That's with a premium account. There was a bit of a mission payout as well, but that is absolutely absurd. Once you factor in personal reserves, premium account, all the good stuff, that was a total of 24,762 experience. If that were a regular tech tree tank, that's, what, half of a tier 8 unlocked or something? Stupid. I mean, that's... Anyway. It was a good game. So, a couple of replays for you there. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, you know what to do. We've got I need to remember what I'm talking about in a moment. I've got my Patreon link down in the video description. There's a link to Discord down in the video description as well. By all means, feel free to take advantage. If you want to send a replay to me, upload it to whatreplays.com, copy the URL, whack it into Discord, and I shall take a butcher's. They don't all have to be 2,000 base XP games, by the way. And as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.